My name is Steve Spinnett, and I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm a businessman here in the city. I have 3 European car repair facilities that I started when I was 19 years old. And today my 3 adult children are managing the businesses, which are doing very good. Also, I think they're doing a better job than I would have if I would be there by myself, but they don't need me. They're doing good. Anyway, the reason why I want to talk to you is not just about my book called The Individual by Steve Spinnett, which is an encouragement for us to not just ignore being self-taught, that we really have an appetite to learn, whether it's watching documentaries or different things. So the big exchange is entertainment or education. And I have found that I'm more entertained by learning stuff than I am just by silliness. Anyway, still, it's good to have fun. And yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about some dreams that I have. I'll talk to you a little bit. I became a born-again Christian when I was 18 years old, and I had not graduated from high school. They kicked me out, so I wasn't really good as far as going to school. But after I was 18 and I grew and I started a business, I knew the value of learning. And I did not know how to run a business, but I decided if I just do it, then I can learn. And I know it's opposite. People need to learn before they do it. I just decided to do it before I learned, but I learned. You know, I was skilled. I worked on the cars when I started and phased out gradually over time, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I could rebuild an engine twice in the time it took a person to do it once. The problem is I had to do it over because I didn't know what I was doing. But I always provided my customers with a top-notch quality. And I learned how to rebuild engines, diagnose problems on the cars, fix brakes, suspension, everything, paint the cars, do body work, even did some upholstery work. Anyway, I learned. And it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So that was a wonderful experience. I had a good work ethic. And back in the hippie days, you know, we would work on the old Volkswagens, the old school air-cooled microbuses, the Bugs and all those. We work on those, and it was nice getting the people that I was working on their cars were on their way to a concert, or just I think most of the time they were on their way home from a concert because they were just out cold, falling asleep while I was working on their car. So that was interesting. But anyway, I'm a dreamer. I have dreams, and I've had some dreams that have really stayed with me. I wrote them down. I took it serious. In particular, one dream that I had on October 23rd, 2002, which is over 20 years ago. This dream really got my attention, and I'll share it with you in just a second. But I've had several dreams ongoing, and they're almost always about war and conflict. I've had some real recent dreams about reconciliation, and I will share that at the right time. But anyway, on this one dream, it's the 3rd dream I had in one night. The other 2, I believe, have come to pass. They were more personal things, some reconciliation between family members, and conflict at home and different things. I remember walking out of the building in this dream. First of all, back up. I saw many of us were in a large building close to the shape of the Modus Center here in Portland, Oregon, where I live, but not an arena. I'm not sure if it was a convention or a meeting, a religious event, but was full of people. I think it was a religious event. I remember walking out of the building down towards the harbor and saw a large passenger jet. I walked out of the middle of the building because I remember that I was bored, so I just left. Anyway, towards the harbor, saw a large passenger jet, and this passenger jet was a passenger jet. I could tell, it had windows in it, but it was the colors of Air Force One, but it was a sea jet. It had the bottom was going along the sea. I saw the bottom of the airplane. I knew for sure it was a sea jet, but it was trying to take off going from left to right. And then it didn't have enough room, so it went from right to left, and he finally went airborne. And then it, about 3/4 of the way up in my picture, just like you see me in a picture, this is about 3/4 of the way up. About 3/4 of the way up, the jet was obliterated by missiles. It's like it needed more room to take off. I told you that. By this time, I walked out of the building towards the harbor to get a closer look. Right at that time, all hell broke loose. That's right. The jet was hit by a missile just after it went airborne. The large building I had just left was hit by the missile. My impression was there was little to no survivors. There were intense hostilities and mayhem out in the harbor, but no other specifics. As I was walking towards the east, towards the hostilities, multitudes of perplexed people were walking past me, going away from the hostilities. What I heard was that there was an all-out attack on the United States. I asked the person with me, what are the casualties? Someone from the masses of perplexed people overheard my question, what were the casualties? The answer was clearly 8 million. After that, I was in an old building in the stairway thinking, why would the Lord want to spare me like that? I did not know what to do, but had a real sense of purpose for being alive. As I was walking through an old shed on the shore of the harbor, and the inside I saw a familiar person, a person from my church from years before. He has since passed away. But that was the only person I recognized. It's interesting. That part, I haven't quite sorted that out yet. I think I know what that means. Another thing I heard was someone say great commotion was happening in Russia. My impression was in the southern part of Russia, somewhere between the Ukraine, Turkestan, and northern Iran, somewhere between the Black and Caspian Seas. This was the source of the bombs and missiles that caused the casualties. I went back and I just want to get a real feel and a remembering really where was the origination of that missile. And the best thing I can come up with is from Sochi, Russia. We are familiar with that city because it hosted the Winter Olympics a number of years ago. Between that and Grozny, I think, is a city in Chechnya. And it's right in there. There's a mountain range. And I think there's the missiles. That's where the missiles were originated. If anybody knows anybody in the military, you might want to bring that to their attention. Okay, that was the dream. Was it? And the main points with the interpretation, leaving the conference center, a sense that I was bored, okay? Moving from left to right, I believe was Trump's presidency. Remember the seaplane, but it was the markings of Air Force One. It's a unique marking. You could see that jet and you could see it up in the air and just know what it is. Trump's presidency, running out of runway in the water, then turning from right to left, Biden's presidency. Going airborne, then during the mayhem, the plane was obliterated. My feeling is the attack will be during Biden's third or fourth year in office. And again, it's because where I saw the plane be obliterated was like this, but this high in my view in the dream. So I was walking towards the casualties with perplexed people. Yeah, I already told you that. The casualties were 8 million. We know that. And the empty old cement building in the other place of the staircase was my mission. And I think it's an intercession that I'm supposed to sound the trumpet of impending attack on American soil, which, by the way, will be the first time an all-out attack on the United States. We've experienced Pearl Harbor and 9/11, of course, which was devastating in itself. But our prayer is to pray against this onslaught of attack on our wonderful land, the United States. Interceding for countermeasures. Yeah, that's right. Interceding for countermeasures. Interceding is not just intense prayer, but it's involvement. It's one way or the other. Get the word out. Tell people. That kind of a thing. Pray. You know, I will friends that would do that. We also pray for God's incredible mercy towards us. I felt God's grace on my life. I've had in the last 3 years, I've had a rough time, but I'm coming out fine. This is to especially those that have been participated in prayer. Those of you that are from the religious perspective, and I'm not just talking to my audience is not just religious people; it's others, it's everybody really. But there's a new move of God that's coming in prayer and intercession that is not just prayer. It's a big thing that's permeated the Christian religious community, and it's very effective. So we have to pray that this does not happen. Remember, this dream was over 20 years ago, and I want to talk to you about this. When I had this dream 20 years ago, it didn't make sense to me. I knew where Russia was. I like geography, and the geopolitical and all that, but it didn't make sense. Okay, I knew that Russia had been an enemy, but Russia back then, in the year 2002, was kind of rebranded a little bit. It was it wasn't this communist state. It was more them wanting to build up their nation, the economy, things like that. But as we see now, they're wanting to build another world empire. So this is something that we really need to take to heart, be aware of it, hear other things too. You'll probably hear other messages. There's a lot of talk of World War III. I think this is probably a part of that. I would have shared this dream a lot earlier, but it didn't make sense to me, but it does now. And now I think I have the timing. I think it's the third, maybe the beginning of the fourth year of Biden's presidency. So that's coming up. That's pretty quick. There's another dream, and I've had this dream I've had even before the one I'm about to tell you about, and it is, I have to sort it out because I've had reoccurring dreams of the same dream. but I'll just tell you basically the main points. I woke up, I was resting in this brush, and there was, it was like ferns. It was a rainforest, kind of like in Oregon. I live in Portland, Oregon, so it's not too far from where I'm at. And these dark complected people, that not their skin, dark haired, dark facial hair, people like all the way from North Korea or Korean look, Chinese look, Venezuela, Colombia, the Central American countries, Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, all those nations, even the Middle Eastern countries. So they were part of a militia, and they knew what they were doing, and they were committed. I saw the professionalism. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were not asking each other questions. They knew what to do. And they were like this. They had their machetes and they were clearing the brush, but they were moving straight. They had a destination. Let's put it that way. They just weren't hanging out like I was. Interesting, I felt really relaxed and really comfortable, which for me, I rarely feel relaxed and comfortable. I have insomnia, so that's kind of the downside of myself. But I am getting better. As you can tell, I'm rocking right now. It's hard for me to sit still, I guess. So that's that. So what we have, big picture, from the east, we have missiles. From the west, we have the militia coming in through the southern border issues that we've had for the last few years because of our president, really. And so I didn't see missiles coming from the west. I saw a militia coming from the west, marching through the brush, and they're real close, I think. And then, of course, I saw the missiles coming from the east. So it's going to be simultaneous. It's sad to say. So let's get ready. And you're going to hear more stuff about this. I'm not going to be the only voice. I'm willing to step out and just tell you, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. God bless.